hold on. Okay, there you go. All right, we should be live. Thank you so much for waiting. I know I'm a couple minutes late. Not too bad though. I had to rush and take a shower. I've been up for a long time. It's just like I was procrastinating. Got breakfast and so on and so forth. Dog related duties to take care of. Let's make sure everything's cool over here. Just let me know if you can hear me, if you can see me. If there's any other kind of audio or video issues, please let me know. We were having some issues on the live play yesterday. See, my nose is bothering me. Where my feed looked fine, but other people were saying I don't see anything, so it was kind of a pain. I don't know if it was. I'm thinking it had to have been a YouTube problem. I don't think it was anything on my end, but do let me know if there's any kind of issue. Cool. Apparently people can see me. And how many people are watching? Well, it's kind of hard to tell right this second. It takes a while for that to load up. All right, great. Hey, well, thank you very much for showing up, everyone who's here. My name is Nick. This is Board Game Brawl. I've decided that I'm probably going to do my live Q&As weekly, and I want to do them at different times to give different people an opportunity to stop by because people are in different time zones across the country and across the world, and people have different work schedules, things like that. So I thought it'd be better to flip it around. Good to have some variety, right? This is a live Q&A if you're not familiar with it, as I drop dice on the ground. Sorry. Where you ask me whatever you want. You can ask me anything board game related, obviously, but if you want to ask me anything else, pop culture related, politics, I will delve into that at least a little bit. I don't care. Things like that, have at it. I really don't mind. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get ahead to that. I am meeting with my game group again tonight because I'm a masochist who loves giving myself too much to do. I have to sit and edit 3 videos before that and get this place cleaned up from our live play of Kingdom Death Monster yesterday. I am looking forward tonight to playing, let's see if you guys can see this okay on camera, Shakespeare. Lots of glare because I saw the shrink wrap on the box, but blind you. This is from Asmodee and Istari. That's weird. Okay, you can tell I got like a prototype copy, not a prototype, but like an early copy that maybe they re-shrinked, because there's the front of the box, right? So, what's up? The lid is on differently. I don't know. That might not mean anything. It might just be a production defect, but no big deal. It's kind of funny. I've never seen that before. That's funny. But I've actually already played this game, or at least I played a partial game of it with Vassal and his crew down at Cool Stuff a couple of weeks ago. And I enjoyed it. We didn't finish it. I was getting trounced. If the game had continued like that, I would have just been dead in the water. There's no way I would have possibly been able to win. But I still enjoyed it. So I need to play it again, obviously. A full game, get all the ins and outs of it, and then maybe I'll let you guys know what I think. But I think it's going to be a very positive review. We'll see. So let's get to those questions. Okay. We'll start with... There we go. How is Kingdom Death Monster? I'm away for work until next Monday, so I won't get to see any videos till then. And we start from the questions that people have asked before the Q&A, so this was probably from some days ago. I think someone else asked a more pertinent question regarding that, so let's save that. Nick, what are your thoughts on the Marvel Cinematic Risk along with Guardians of the Galaxy game? Is this game worth getting if you wanted to get a version of Risk? Well, I have to do my review of that. I have played both games in that box, the Risk Marvel Cinematic Universe and the Guardians of the Galaxy dice game. That's what that is. No, it's not worth getting. Wait for my review if you want a more nuanced answer. Hey Nick, what do you think about the Seventh Continent game that just went up on Kickstarter? It looks like a unique game. It is a very unique looking game, and I think that it's doing amazingly well. I looked at it maybe 2 nights ago, and it was at 400,000. So, okay, it's at 468 now, which, even if it stopped right there, is incredible, because this game, while it does have some miniatures that are, like, promotional things, but things that you don't actually need for the game, it is primarily a card game. It is a card-driven choose-your-own-adventure game. The fact that it has made $468,000 at the time of this recording is incredible for that type of game, and really it turns on its head the idea of that you need a ton of miniatures to make that kind of money on Kickstarter, when really just a few promo miniatures will get you there, plus a really interesting concept. I will also say that the company behind it did a lot of press for this game. I feel like this game was being talked about months and months ago, and has been amping up steadily over time to where it's been constantly in my news feed. People I'm friends with on Facebook who are in the media constantly talking about playing prototypes of it, and on Twitter and things like that. So I feel like this game has been ever present, and people were just eagerly, anticipating it. I actually will be doing a preview video for it. It's a paid preview video, so it's not my review and it's not a final thoughts. I'm just going to walk you through the game and show you bits about it, and then tell you what I think is interesting about it, as I do with all my paid previews. That will be in a week. Yeah, I think exactly a week from now. Next weekend it'll be coming out. So do look forward to that. I'll talk about it in my Kickstarter update as well. But I mean, more to your point, I think it looks super cool. That's just my thought. But again, I'm not giving my opinion of what the game... I have to be very cautious about that. I think the game looks very cool and interesting. But even I haven't played it yet, and I can't give you my final thoughts on it. Any chance you'd be willing to tell us about your personal background, where you were born, high school, college, first job? Sure, I won't answer everything about my personal background, but I don't mind doing stuff like that. So I was born in Youngstown, Ohio. I think specifically a borough of sorts of Youngstown called in that county called Girard. I think the hospital I was born in was in that town, but I was born and raised in Youngstown, which is a major town in that area in Ohio, which was a big steel mill town. I constantly refer to it as like the Detroit of Ohio, because it had one major industry, and when that industry failed, it sort of plummeted the whole city into like a depression. Now Detroit obviously still has the car industry to a degree, but I think there are some parallels there. So there was a lot. Youngstown, like the actual city portion of it, is very, very like urban, in disrepair, urban decay and squalor. But then like the outer boroughs are just like plain suburbs, full of white people who were, and most of them in the middle of white flight as minorities moved into different neighborhoods. So it's a very, very depressing place to live, is I guess what I'm getting at. And although, since I haven't been back there in a long, long time, but I have heard, like I heard a news story on NPR about different areas of the country where tech startups are trying to revitalize the area, and Youngstown was one of those. And apparently downtown Youngstown, a lot of tech companies moved in and set up shop and are really revitalizing it. I don't know if that's carried over. That was some years ago, but it's an interesting thought. The rest of your questions, I went to high school. My first 3 years of high school was also in Ohio, at a school called Cardinal Mooney. It was a Catholic school. I went to Catholic school from 7th grade to 12th grade. So 7th and 8th grade, I was at St. Matthias School, St. Matthias Junior High, and which was also, there was a church also on the property. And so every morning, we had to go to mass. We would come to class, and then we would all march across the parking lot to the church. And then for school, it was Cardinal Mooney High School, which didn't have its own church, but every month we'd have a big communal mass in the auditorium. And I had to take religious classes at all these schools. And then when I moved down to Florida the summer of '98. And so my final year of high school was at Cardinal Gibbons. It was very important to my family that they honor my mom's dying wish to have me go to Catholic school, which is some crappy dying wish, honestly. But I had to finish up at a Catholic school, so I did. And very, very different, the schools down here. So I only had 1 year of the school system down here in South Florida. And then college. So I only did an Associate of Arts degree at a community college, unfortunately. It's called, at the time it was called Broward Community College. I lived in Broward County, Florida at the time. And I got my Associate of Arts in English there, which is a worthless degree. But I did take some fun classes like philosophy and world religion and film as literature, which actually was not nearly as fun as I would have hoped. I almost failed French. That was fun. I was working a full-time job though. I've never had the college experience of not only going away to college but also doing school full-time, higher learning at least. I was working a full-time job, going to college, taking night classes, and most nights I'd go to college just like falling asleep in my chair. Even if I was interested in the class, I couldn't do much to help that. And my first job, well, my very, very first job was mowing lawns door to door when I was like 12, maybe. It seems like it was before junior high. And then like my first like I'm picking up a paycheck job was Subway. I worked at a Subway restaurant right down the street from my grandma's house where I was living my junior year of high school, I think. It was either sophomore or junior year I started there. And then I moved down and just quit without telling them because I was a jerk. And then when I moved down here, I got a it was just doing nighttime work after school, my final year of high school. Once I graduated from high school, I just went there full time during the day, and I've just bounced around the different printing companies since then. So that's me. That's at least my professional quote-unquote life. Best Rocky movie, I'm going to say it's 4 and 5 and then also 1, but then 6 is probably a fan favorite. I'm saying all this because I've never watched a single one of the Rocky movies. Whichever Rocky movie you like, Michael, is the best. Thoughts on Dysonstein? I think that's a Kickstarter. I didn't really pay too much attention to it. I didn't think it looked that great. There we go. Oh, is that? Wow, I didn't know that. It's from Sandy Peterson. Oh, it got canceled. Well, what did he wait till the 11th hour to cancel it? We have relaunched as Return to Castle Dyson's. Oh, wait. Oh, I see. Wait a second. This is from a while ago. I see. Earlier in the year, he did something called Dysonstein and canceled it. And now he's relaunched as Return to Castle Dysonstein, which is still still not funding. I'm sorry, but I really dislike Sandy Peterson and his obnoxious son. I think it's his son. They're just fucking douchebags. And sorry, sometimes I forget I should not curse on what's supposed to be a family show. I just personally dislike them and their enterprise because of the way that they treated me when I put out my review of Cthulhu Wars, which was a good review of Cthulhu Wars that said, like, the game is too much money and not really worth it, but it is fun. I just think it's better. I think this other game is better. And his son and just, like, led a bunch of fanatical backers of the game in, like, eviscerating me. And I took it personally. I really did, like, more than any other negative feedback I've gotten to any review, especially since my review was positive. So I really have a chip on my shoulder about him and his entire endeavors, and I'm very happy to see that this project failed. There's my thoughts on it. Well, actually, I take that back. It has 60 hours to go. It might fund. It's got 22,000 of a 30,000 goal. I would think that that's going to be pretty hard for them to surmount if they only have 22,000 after almost a month. But I've seen stranger things happen, but it looks stupid anyways. It really does. Aside from any chip on my shoulder I have, it doesn't look very interesting. And it's what? Oh wow, unicorn mummy zombies. Wow, that's really amazing. Anyways, yeah. So there's my thoughts. I couldn't care less about it, and I hope every one of their business endeavors fails. I'm also tired, so. Can you please take a selfie right now and post it on Facebook? No. Honestly, in Generation X, I like you because I remember you from previous Q&As, and I would do a lot for you. But I'm not going to do a selfie because I hate selfies. I hate the very concept of them and the idea of them. And now that it turns out they're very dangerous. Who knew? Have you tried Tannhauser? If so, thoughts? Sadly, no. I actually picked up Tannhauser in a trade, and it sat on my shelf for so long that someone else expressed an interest in it. I just traded it away again without playing it, which has happened quite a few times, actually. And I'm sad about that because I think the theme was really interesting, and it is out of print now. It's probably harder to get than it was a couple of years ago when I got it. And but it looks like an interesting concept. Yeah, I'd like to try it in the future sometime. I'm sure if I really wanted to try it, I could send a message to Sam Healy and tell him to bring it down to the next Cool Stuff meetup. Hey, Nick, how's it going? What type of games are you seeing over the past year? Innovative re-implementations of other games or just plain pasted on themes games? Well, I think there's been a surprising amount of innovative games in the past year. We finally saw the drop of Kingdom Death Monster, which is, despite whatever you might think about it, whether you've played it or not, it is an innovative game for sure. There's that game Time Stories, which I should be getting a copy of this week actually for review, that based on everything I've read about it seems incredibly cool and innovative. You have Tragedy Looper, you have Dead of Winter, which granted Dead of Winter was very similar to Battlestar Galactica, but what it did with some of its systems with the Crossroads cards and with the goal cards was super innovative, I thought. Alchemist, using the app. I really could go on and on. There's a ton of innovative games. I've played games this week that I don't think they're the greatest games ever. One of them is called Don't Turn Your Back from Evil Hat Productions. I just think it's an okay game. I didn't have too much fun with it the way I wanted to. But I will tell you, it is a very, very interesting game. It is pushing some boundaries in deck building and worker placement that I haven't seen before. So I see that as an example of people who are thinking outside the box, which I think is a very, very, very beneficial thing. Even if it doesn't always work the way I personally, in my opinion, want it to, like with Don't Turn Your Back, I want people to keep doing that, because it's when it hits for you personally, it really hits, and you feel like you've played something very unique. And that's how I feel with Kingdom Death Monster, and hopefully how I'll feel with Time Stories, and how I also feel with Tragedy Looper and Alchemist. All the examples I gave. FFG uploaded a trailer for Warhammer Quest and got blasted in the comments about no miniatures. Surely that's Games Workshop's doing. Well, it's absolutely Games Workshop's doing. You'll notice in games like Forbidden Stars and Relic, which are licensed from Fantasy Flight Games, the Fantasy Flight licenses the game, the Warhammer themes from those games from Games Workshop. You will notice that the only miniatures they have in those games are nothing like the miniatures that Games Workshop produces. For Relic, they are like torso busts of the like from the chest and head of the characters from that series, and then in Forbidden Stars are like really small, like shit miniatures and like little emblem miniatures. And I don't like Forbidden Stars miniatures that much, but the miniatures from Relic look good. But the fact is, they are purposefully not allowing FFG to have really high quality, good miniatures comparable even in scale to the ones from Games Workshop. And but here's what's curious about me. If you're talking, I'm assuming you mean Warhammer Quest, the fantasy card game, right? Or did they announce Warhammer Quest? I don't think so, but I might have missed that bit of news. But I wouldn't have expected miniatures in the card game. But again, I might be out of the loop on news. So let me take a look here real quick at Fantasy Flight's website. That is not the best place to look. News. Sorry. I'm just curious. I put out a lot of news. Oh, I'm pretty far behind. No, I don't know. I don't see anything. Let me go to their YouTube channel. Yeah, I was actually just talking about that with a couple of the guys from the Kingdom Death game last night afterwards, like how Games Workshop is kind of dickish about a lot of their things. I just don't understand it. I just don't understand, like, potentially leaving money on the table. I mean, I'm willing to admit that maybe they're smarter than me, because they're running a business and I don't run a business, and so maybe they know something we don't know and we should just trust them. But I don't know. It'd be pretty funny if I could ever if I surpass Fantasy Flight Games in subscribers. I'm not even halfway there yet though, but I think that'd be funny. Yeah, okay, look, they're calling it Warhammer Quest, but it ain't Warhammer Quest. They're calling the video Warhammer Quest. That's a dumb thing, but it's the card game. Yeah, okay. Well, I don't know. Would not expect miniatures in a card game. They pretty much advertised that ahead of time. I'm just looking at the comments. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still excited about the game. I'm really excited about the game, actually. And Fantasy Flight has a good track record. Have you noticed Tom gets ripped to shreds in the comments about how he interacts with Jason during his top 100? I would have thought all who are familiar with the Dice Tower should have figured out that this is to make the video more entertaining. It's like saying, "Hey, jerks." Yeah, who would say something like that? I have noticed that, and the thing is, I understand that it is just browbeating for a bit. It's just busting balls, but he really browbeats him a lot in those videos, and it is hard to imagine that some of that is acted and just sort of put on for fun. To me, it looked like Tom was perpetually annoyed, and I know a lot of that is just for the camera, but some of it looked legit. But that's just the type of relationship they have. What type of gamers you hate or annoy you? I don't like ultra competitive people. And when I say ultra, I mean being competitive is necessary. Being ultra competitive, like yeah, in your face, man, like getting like hurt feelings over both losing and winning. That kind of thing. That's one of the reasons why I hate playing like spades with people and other trick taking like partnership games, because people just get really angry about it. Like as if winning matters at all. I don't like people who are alpha nerds who have to like brag about all of their stuff. And maybe I'm sitting from a position where I don't have to worry about that because I have so many games, but I just hate it when people are like, well, I've played this, and have you played this one? That kind of stuff drives me nuts. I hate smelly people. People who don't make an effort. I've talked about this before. People who don't make an effort to learn the game as you're explaining it. They tune out, they phase out, they get angry with you. Like, come on, let's just start the game. Okay, now what do I do? I hate that, and I hate it when there are couples and one partner in the coupleship just constantly relies on the other, and then it feels like you're playing people. You're playing like two people at the same time in one player. And then they team up with each other and they won't attack each other. That just is stupid. I hate that. And to the point where if I see that happening, I will go out of my way to attack both of those people and make their life miserable. What were the last 5 games you kickstarted? Well, let's take a look. Since I already have it open. This has gone down. The number of these has gone down quite a lot, although I backed more in the past couple months than I have in a while. There's a lot of good stuff. So I am. Come on, you gotta. Okay, I see. Gotcha. I'm currently backing the others. I'm probably only going to back it for $1, and then because I just don't have the money for it right now. Because while I am on Cool Mini or Not's review list, and I expect that to be a good relationship for the two of us, I don't count on them giving me the exclusive stuff, which I totally wouldn't blame them for, by the way. I think that's proper. I think that reviewers are privileged in getting a copy of the game, not only early, but for free. And, obviously we put out a review, which, good or bad, is going to be promotion for the company, so you could say that we are paying for it in a way. But still, I think that Kickstarter backers should get the exclusives, and that's your reward. If you are going to do... if you are going to do exclusives at all, which I don't agree with. I don't like exclusives, but if you're going to do them, keep them exclusive and actually fulfill your backers' rewards, and maybe your reviewers don't get them. So I am backing the others for now. I backed, and then we held hands because I'm not really on that company's review list, and I wanted to make sure I got a copy of it. I backed Dawn of the Zeds 3rd edition because I always wanted a copy of Dawn of the Zeds, and I never got around to buying the 2nd edition. Then they put the 3rd edition on Kickstarter, and I'm like, okay, I'll get it now. Melee, the new edition of Melee. I actually reviewed the old edition of Melee, but I wanted the new one. And I don't think any boards and cards likes me very much, so I had to back it myself. I love the artwork on it. It's from Nayade. And then, El Alamein. I'm backing El Alamein. I'm tentative on whether or not I'm going to keep that pledge or not, to be honest. Although they did put out historical wartime stock photo versions of those two games, that and Barbarossa, which I thought was pretty interesting. Now, actually, before I backed Melee, I hadn't backed a project since June, it looks like, which was Madara, which I backed for $1, and I'm still waiting for the pledge manager. And I actually backed Besiege Sons of the Abyss before that for $1, but I am not going to actually use my pledge manager to up that. I traded away something, I can't really say, for the Besieged pledge that someone else got, and a Zombicide Black Death Black Plague pledge. So those are my current Kickstarters. Not a lot, honestly. Many board game geeks are quite the Care Bears until you provoke them. Very tone evaluating messages. Well, I'm not. Let me see. Let me parse out what you're trying to say here. Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I have a problem with the mentality of Board Game Geek quite a lot of times. So many people there. Board Game Geek holds, and I'm talking about its community when I say Board Game Geek. The community holds itself above so many other communities online as like, we're how it should be done, right? Respectful, courteous, supportive to the other members of the community. And for large chunks of Board Game Geek's community and forums, I agree with that. It is most definitely probably the most pleasant forum I've ever been a part of, as far as like the interaction between the members, the intelligent conversation, and how they do support each other and look out for each other. However, that does not mean that the whole thing is perfect, and there are a tremendous amount of trolls on that site, just by the very nature of it and how large it is. Not as many as other sites, but they are there. People there are super sensitive, very politically correct. The people that aren't super sensitive and very politically correct are often like ostracized from groups. Nobody likes to criticize certain people, and other people criticize everyone. There's a few people in particular. I should start making a list of these people just so I remember their names, so that if I see them come up and their avatars, I'm just like, okay, I'm not going to interact with you, because they're just there to provoke and to troll. And so they're not perfect. It's really not. I mean, there's a person who made some sort of snide comment about me in the Kingdom Death comments, like when you rate a game and commented. He gave the game a 1 and mentioned me in particular, and just like unprovoked. Just like, why? Why would you start something just because you... And his whole argument for giving the game a 1 is the pinup models that you could pledge for during the campaign, which aren't even in the game. Nah, I don't have a single one. And so I have a lot of problems with a lot of the clientele of that site, but it's still overall an amazing site. Now that John Boehner's stepping down, how are you preparing to become the next Speaker of the House? Well, assuming that since it's still a Republican majority, I would have to be the Speaker of the House and the leader of the Republican Party in Congress. And so here's what I'm doing to prepare myself for that. First off, I've decided that I hate all women. So this is party line. So I have to completely disrespect and think of women as a lesser, not just gender, but species. They are only there to serve us. So I have to make sure that all of my policies are in step with that. So women have no rights to their reproductive organs. They belong to us, which is as it should be. And they are only there to serve us, to bear our spawn. That's the only reason that they're really there. And our sexual gratification, not theirs though. That would be bad. We don't want them to have any kind of sexual gratification, because what do we care about what they think? So that's really important. I want to get as many weapons of death out into the public as possible. I think more and more items that are explicitly designed to kill as many people as possible, as quickly as possible, are very important to get into circulation. Because right now, we're only sitting at about 1 gun for every man, woman, and child in the United States. Shouldn't it be 2? Because don't you want an extra? So I really that's part of my my promise as a speaker, is to get these issues to the House floor, to the Senate floor. So that's very important to me. Just more and more death, I think, is super important. Also, we need to make sure that homosexuals have 0 rights. I mean, come on. That's a no-brainer. I won't even go into details on that because, yeah. So these are very important things. As the Speaker of the House, if I'm taking over for John Boehner, that is what I would have to worry about. Hopefully no one stepped in right in the middle of that conversation. Favorite mechanisms. I love deck building. I don't love it, but I like worker placement. Worker placement, when done right, is quite fun. But I love deck building games. I love, this is tough to quantify this as a mechanism, but social deduction, hit and roll, that whole aspect of a game is awesome. I love that more and more as time goes on. Excuse me. Do you have any idea how much Do you have an idea of how much it costs to reserve space for your board game group gatherings? Well, for me, for most of them, zero, because I do them at my apartment. We've been doing some of them at a friend's karate studio, and that's free since he manages it. So for me, it's nothing. I do use Meetup, which has a monthly fee. I do it monthly because every now and then I think I'm just going to cancel it. So it's $20 a month. If you were to pay ahead of time, like 6-month plan, it's like much cheaper. It's like $60 or something total. But I know that when I was into RPGs way before I was into board games, and I was trying to find a space to play, because at the time I was living in a tiny efficiency, I was thinking about going to Dunkin' Donuts, because some Dunkin' Donuts have conference rooms that you can rent out. But they're really expensive. They're like, it's like $10 an hour or something. So that wasn't really going to be an option. It might even be more than that. And also the hours still suck. So a lot of libraries let you do it for free, or they'll have a nominal donation fee. So something to consider. I've been liking dice worker placement games these days. Like, oh, is this the question? Or I need to actually read the whole thing ahead of time, but good for you. All right, here's the question, because someone asked this earlier, and I wanted to wait until we got to this, which I think is a more pertinent way to ask this question. As of this moment, what are your thoughts on Kingdom Death Monster? So we did a live play of Kingdom Death last night. It was because, of course, I not procrastinated. I was super busy this week. I had no time to read the rules. I have been picking at the rules over the past couple weeks, so I had read a lot of the major mechanisms. I just didn't get to all the nitty-gritty details. And I didn't even have time to put all the miniatures together. I had to beg Vernon, and he willingly, gladly did it, to put them all together like less than 2 days ahead of time. And like a trooper, he did almost all of them, which was great. But it was a fumbling ordeal. A lot of people were, or there were several people who were familiar with the game who were correcting us the whole time, and those people are saints. Thank you very much. I should have thanked you properly during the broadcast. But here are my thoughts. I really, really I loved it. I really did. I thought it was great. Maybe love's too strong a word for right now, but here's the fact of the matter is, I just mentioned how we fumbled through it and we're getting rules wrong all the time, constantly referencing the rule book, trying to figure out what was going on, if we were doing anything right. Even with that, even screwing up the play of the game, we still had a blast. And it wasn't just me. Everyone there had a blast. People who had never experienced this game before, had no vested interest in it the way that I did. They didn't back it for a lot of money. They haven't been watching it, waiting for it for almost 3 years. They didn't know what was going to happen. And they enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it. And I was really, really preparing myself for the worst. I was preparing myself for, I just backed and spent a lot of money on a lot of fancy miniatures. And maybe I'll keep them, maybe I won't. As it turns out, the game is really incredible. As we got through different parts, like you heard me if you watched it, when we got to the hunting phase, I'm like, whoa, this is really cool. I thought the hunting phase would just be like roll some dice and look at a chart. It's like this whole other part. Every part of the game is very well thought out and intricate. Probably the least interesting part of the game to me is the showdown, because it's just like Descent D&D style combat. But even then, they did some innovative things that I like the AI deck and taking damage from the monster from the AI deck, which is a Pathfinder adventure card game type of mechanism. But bear in mind, this was a year before that, I think. This is when he originally designed it. And the whole thing with the terrain that might pop out and the hit location deck. These are all super interesting things. And then the other parts, the hunt phase, the innovations back at the settlement, and that whole thing of like unlocking like a tech tree type thing and how that works, and building different areas of the settlement and being able to build more stuff from the carcasses and leftovers of the monsters that you kill, which means that all these different aspects of the game are interwoven together. And I find that incredibly fascinating and satisfying. For sure, the game has some issues. I feel like I'm doing a full review now, but it's too fiddly. I mean, Justin, if you watched the overview or the gameplay last night at the end, when we were talking about it afterwards, he pointed it out, and he was correct. I mean, the game is like, okay, look, flip over this card. What's that card say? Okay, it tells me to do this. So now we go get those cards. Okay, those cards have to go here now. Okay, I'll put this here. Then flip over this card. Okay, now roll those dice. And oh, wait. You did this? Wait. You hit a milestone there? Okay, so now we got to look in the book. Let me get the book. All right, let me flip to the page. Let me find the page. Okay, here's the event. Okay, here's the event. Okay, now, find this. The book is telling us to find this card. Now, with that card, now you have to roll that dice. Roll the dice. Okay, what happens? Okay. With that result, you have to grab this card and put it into here. I'm really not exaggerating. That's just a sped up version of it. There's a lot of constantly juggling pieces and cards back and forth. And that is going to drive some people insane. But I reiterate that we were doing it with a basic, bare knowledge of the game. If we knew what we were doing, a lot of that would be smoothed over quite a bit. And even with those rough spots, we still had a blast because the discovery and the exploration of it was amazing. And my one concern about it long term is, and I mentioned this as well last night, is how much am I going to like the game when I have completed it the first time? Because if I go through 25 Lantern years of the game, I am sure I will enjoy all of that for the most part. Who knows? I mean, my opinion might change when I play it more. I'm going to play it solo a lot tomorrow. But it may come to pass that I get to the end and I'm like, okay, I've seen every or almost every story event, and I've seen all these cards, and I know what can come out, and I know the monsters. What is there left for me? I mean, I feel like I've seen everything. It's almost like a legacy game in that regard. Now, there's a ton of expansions coming out. Ones that I backed that I'm just waiting on for like Wave 3. But still, I do worry about that. But in the meantime, the journey is really, really cool. I mean, it really is. And as far as the price goes, first off, it is the pre-orders. They reopened the pre-orders now. It might be done, unfortunately. Let me see here. It's still up. You can go to the website, look up Kingdom Death Monster pre-order special. Go to shop.kingdomdeath.com and look for it. And if you want to. But it is, even on sale, even with the special pre-order, it is cheaper than it was a month ago. It's $295, okay? Now, is the game worth $295? Right now, I don't know that I can answer that question honestly enough. I am very happy that I backed it, okay? I spent way more money than that total on the game, but the amount of money I spent on it includes not just the base game, it includes a ton of expansions. The amount of money I spent then, I think someone else would have to spend maybe 2 to 3 times that much when all is said and done for the retail prices of all of these different components and expansions and things. So I'm super happy with my purchase, as much as it almost killed me of how much money I spent on it at the time. But I'm happy about it. And I think I'll get a lot of rewards for it from views on the channel. For common person who does not have a review channel, who has to budget their game time and their gameplay and their game purchases, is it worth it? As amazing as it was, and it really is an amazing experience, it's a lot of money. And I do think that there are some games that can at least mimic some of the things that happen in this game. You will never have the same experience. There's nothing that's quite like this in whole, but things like Descent can give you a taste of it. I don't know. I want to do the responsible thing and say no, because it's a lot of money, and I don't want to lead people astray. But if you do have the disposable income, I think if you like anything like that, legacy, Descent style campaign play, if you love the artwork and the aesthetic and putting miniatures together and painting them and all these different things, it might be worth it for you if you are totally sure you have the income for it. So it's my word of caution. But it's a very, very, very cool game. I'm very, very pleased with it. Cool shirt. Are you going to buy Fallout 4? This is my Nuka-Cola Quantum shirt that was on Ripped about a week ago. Ripped ships fast, actually. I really want to, okay? I am so excited for that game, but I know I don't have the time for it. Maybe things will change. I could make time for it, and maybe I will. But the problem is I don't have a console that can run it, which would be my preferred way to play it, because I don't have the newest PlayStation and Xbox. And I don't know that my PC, my laptop, can handle it. But I could try. What could be the worst that would happen? Maybe they'll put out some sort of demo I can try and see if it runs okay. What would the perfect Full Metal Alchemist board or card game look like? I don't know that that's possible. The problem, okay, the only way that anything like that, for any type of series like that would work is if you actually did a campaign-style adventure game where you took control of the characters and went through different stories. And maybe you did side quests that weren't actually in the original anime and manga, and that's fine. But trying to do anything else other than that, I don't think quite works. You could do like a faction-based war game in the sense of, or not war game, but like territory control type game. Like, think of what they did with the first Conan game, which is like Age of Hyboria or something like that. Which was, Conan was just this dude running around. Or Bioshock Infinite, The Siege of Columbia, where you were the different factions vying for control of Columbia, and the main characters of the game were just sort of running around as this random threat. That kind of thing you might be able to do with Full Metal Alchemist. Like, one side could be like, but even then, there's not really that type of dynamic in the world of Full Metal Alchemist. There's like the Fuhrer and the government and the homunculi. I don't know. Not every property can be transmitted great into a board game. I thought a long time about that when I made my top 10 list of games, of pop culture properties I'd like to see as board games. You can check out that old top 10 list. No one else's. And see what I thought about that. Because, like, I said Babylon 5, and I thought Babylon 5 could be a great game because you do have all these different alien races vying for diplomatic supremacy and all of these things. And Final Fantasy Tactics was a lock. I mean, that's easy. You can easily do a campaign-style game with unlocking all these different job classes. Oh, my God. That no one has done that yet. I want someone to do that. Someone needs to make a game like that where you unlock, like, this tree of classes. So cool. But no, I mean, how else would Full Metal Alchemist work? It just wouldn't. I just don't think it would. Have you checked out Steamcraft, the deck builder on Kickstarter? What do you think of it? Well, I cannot tell you what I think of it because I did a paid preview of it, which will be going up today or tomorrow. I mean, the video is going to be done editing today. It's up to the project creator whether he is okay with it and wants it to go out public or not. But you can find out more about it by watching that. I can't tell you my final thoughts on it, though. Have you ever lost interest in a game because you only could play with the same people every time? That's a very interesting question. There's certainly been times where I've played a game and thought, like, I'd like to try this with new people. I always play with the same group. But no, I don't think so. I think if a game is really good, I'll try to get it played no matter what. That's an interesting question, though. What do you feel is the most overrated game mechanic or game mechanism and the most overrated game subgenre? Game mechanic. I don't know if it's overrated because I think that people are really turning on it, but I don't like auctions. I don't like auctions and bidding really much at all. Some games do it okay, but I could still do without it, and I would be perfectly fine. But a lot of games totally rely on it, and people love that. But I could do without it completely. And the most overrated game subgenre? I'll say economic games. Yeah, any kind of economic game, I'm just kind of over at this point. What do you think about Seventh Continent? I answered that earlier in the Q&A. It looks very interesting, and I'll be doing a paid preview soon. Are you backing the others? I'm backing it for $1, and I'll probably pledge fully to it later. Hey, Nick, wanted to ask what you did for your first convention and any tips you might have because I'm heading to Essen for the first time. Well, my first convention was Dice Tower Con, which is nothing compared to the scale of Essen. Even not having been to Essen, I can tell you that. So I feel like I'm inadequately prepared to consult you on that, unfortunately, Angela. But I will tell you some general things that I think would be good for both types of conventions. Dice Tower Con was a much smaller convention that was primarily gaming. And Essen is mostly about just going to the different vendors' booths. But I'm sure there's gaming in the periphery. Pace yourself. My biggest problem with my convention was that I was constantly doing something. I was constantly trying to keep myself busy. If I wasn't doing something, if I wasn't playing a game or interacting with people, I felt like I was wasting my time. But that is not necessarily true. A convention is also a vacation for you. So sometimes stop and smell the roses. Don't feel like you need to play every game that people offer to you. Don't feel like you need to be involved constantly. Don't feel like you need to walk every single step of the merch hall, which might be impossible because I heard it's amazingly huge. Or either bigger than Gen Con or comparable. find out what you want to do, have a plan, schedule times of just downtime for yourself. Don't be afraid to take a nap, because a lot of times you go to a con. My inclination was stay up as late as I possibly can, which may or may not be your inclination. But if it is, pace yourself, take a nap, make sure you get enough sleep, make sure you are just taking care of yourself. Drink a lot of water, things like that. That all sounds like really super basic stuff, but you do forget about it when you're in a con environment surrounded by a bunch of people. Easy stuff to forget. So that would be my very general tips. I can't give you specific tips, unfortunately, because I've never been to Essen. There's no way I caught up, right? Maybe. I'm close. I hate people who say, like, wow, you still play that dumb game? I hope I didn't say that, but you might just be referencing something in general to that one of the previous questions of, like, what kind of gamers do you hate? Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. When I hear people say, like, they play Munchkin, I really, really try not to... First off, I try not to say anything. If they ask me my opinion, I'll say I hate it, because I'm just honest. I'm honest like that. But if it works for them, it works for them. Or, Monopoly and things like that. Any kind of game like that. I don't think you should criticize people just for playing games that aren't your speed. Because one thing to keep in mind is that sometimes people don't have the width and breadth of experience that you do. Sometimes even if they do, they're just attracted to that game for reasons that they can't quantify. It could be a sentimental game for them, and to them it clicks the joy centers in their brain in a way that is never, ever going to click for you. So I think that's a great point. You should not say, oh, that crap game, why are you playing that? Because they enjoy it. That's why. I played Arch of the Consortium and it's quickly becoming my favorite worker placement game. What is your favorite worker placement game? That's a good one, actually, but it's not my favorite. My favorite, technically speaking, although few people think of it as that type of game, Robinson Crusoe, since it was in my top 10 last year, is probably my favorite. It is a worker placement game. You each have little markers that you put out on different spots on the board and activate them and use them. So I'm going to say Robinson Crusoe. Are you kidding? Is this even true? How did you feel when CMON opened up a late pledge of Blood Rage a few weeks ago and allowed people to get full pledge rewards? I didn't even know that had happened. Is that for real? Okay. Well, honestly, my first inclination is to be like, what? But then I'm like, oh, I don't care. I don't mind that. I'm bothered by my big chip on my shoulder with that, and I like CMON. I have a business partnership with them. They put me on the review list. I'm very appreciative for that. But I did have a big chip on my shoulder regarding the fact that they were selling a few hundred copies or 200 copies or something like that at Gen Con, way ahead of, like, it would be one thing if, like, later in the month Kickstarter backers were getting their game or just after Gen Con. We're not going to be getting our copies of the game until late this month. How many months after Gen Con? I mean, almost 3 probably by the time that we actually get the game, which is really absurd. That's what bothers me. Letting people pledge, not a huge deal. Who cares? I mean, I don't like exclusive anyways, so I don't mind people getting another shot at it. I just want the game. Are you a socialist? I would say yes, I think. I think that there are certain things that if we ever want to be a really moralistic and upright society that, is ever going to move forward into the future, we need to accept that people should get universal health care, that people should have, free medication, that people should get a free education no matter what, that the worst of society are still worth something, that people should have a hand up, that the mentally ill should be taken care of, that the people who make a mistake in life should still be given a chance to succeed in life, that the people who cannot work because of mental issues, physical issues, whatever it might be taken care of because it's the right thing to do. And I think those things would make me a socialist. And I don't think it's a naughty word. And I think that there are more aspects of our society right now that even Republicans have agreed to, like Social Security, which are socialist ideas. So it is not a crazy term. It's just that Republican pundits and politicians have done their absolute best, much like the terms progressive and liberal, to just make them into dirty words. But I am proud of all three of those words. I think Republicans should push for guns for kids and fetuses. Thoughts or interests in Don't Turn Your Back? I think maybe you asked that after I talked about it earlier. I didn't quite like it that much, but I thought it was very interesting. I'll review it soon. Looking into getting a speed co-op game, which should I get? Zombie 15 or Escape the Curse of the Temple, or do you have other recommendations? Of those, Zombie 15 by far. I did not like Escape. Maybe I'm in the minority on that one. I thought it was an interesting idea, but it's too frantic. I don't mind a speed game necessarily, and Zombie 15 is a speed game, but Zombie 15 gives you some breathing room, you know? You have time to make a decision, time to make sure that you're actually doing something right, time to make sure you're getting the rules right. Constantly when I was playing Escape, I felt like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't even know if you're doing it right, and I'm not checking you, and you're just throwing dice around, and you're picking them up off the ground and putting them where you want. So no one is checking each other. No one is sure that the rules are being done right. And people who are fans of the game would see like, well, you're not supposed to be worrying about stuff like that. But I do worry about stuff like that. It's a game. So for me, Zombie 15 is the way to go. There is Zombie Escape, but I doubt that's any better than the actual Escape. Have you played Dreadfleet yet, and thoughts? No. But one day I will, probably with Vernon. Did you receive a copy of Epic Card Game? Can we expect a review? No, I did not, and I'm not going out of my way to pick one up. Maybe if it comes to cool stuff cheaply. But I've heard some negative reviews about it, which I was kind of worried about. I was never totally on board with the game. Have you ever watched Dark Matter? No, but I've heard good things about it. Star Wars Imperial Assault or Descent 2.0? Descent 2.0, if I had to pick. While I think that the mechanisms and the miniatures and the ideas and things present in Star Wars Imperial Assault are great, I much, much, much prefer a fantasy setting. Aesthetically, story-wise, character-wise, special ability-wise, all these different things, much prefer fantasy. I understand that Star Wars is like wizards in space, but it's still mostly like guns and robots and things, and Star Wars, while I like it quite a bit, just doesn't appeal to me the way that, like, say, Lord of the Rings does. So Descent over Imperial Assault for me personally, easily. Thoughts on innovation? Any interest in the deluxe edition on Kickstarter? I saw the deluxe edition had launched, but I didn't actually look at the page yet. I do not like innovation. I played it one time and was like, let this nightmare end, please. I played it with someone, 2-player, which supposedly is the best way to play the game, by the way, who was very familiar with the game. So he crushed me, which is fine. I totally expected that. And it does prove that, okay, it's not totally random, because someone who is very experienced with the game can easily crush someone who's not. On the other hand, I think 2 experienced players playing each other, someone's just going to get screwed by the randomness of the game completely, because that game is just like total chaos, and I don't understand why so many like hardcore Euro gamers enjoy it so much, which makes me think like I'm missing something maybe, but that's fine. There's too many good games that I am interested in for me to play to go back and revisit it, so not interested. What character would you like to see as a Funko Pop? Oh, that's a cool question. You can make some really awesome ones out of the Arcadia Quest and Super Dungeon Explorer miniatures, right? Because they're mostly Funko Pop figures anyways. Just make them bigger. Same dimensions of the head. I don't know. That's a great question. Drizzt. Is there Drizzt and his crew? That'd be awesome. Wow. I need to bring that up because I follow Ari Salvatore on Facebook. That would be great. They have made Funko figures for less popular things than that. Have you played Exploding Kittens and any thoughts? Yes, I'll be doing my review possibly tomorrow. It's awful. Everyone knew that was going to be awful. It's not even a surprise. Quick challenge. Turn around and pick out 3 games in a sentence or 2 and tell us why we need to play it. Oh, gosh. A sentence or 2. Okay. Yido. I'm going to pick lesser-known ones, sort of. You're going to play Yido because it is worker placement that is incredibly vicious and thematic. You need to play Volt because once you play Volt, you'll never play Robo Rally again, hopefully, because Robo Rally is a terrible game. You need to play Mansions of Madness because Mansions of Madness gets a lot of hate, and it is a bitch to set up, but it is one of the best Cthulhu games, possibly the best Cthulhu game. Do you still play Magic the Gathering Arena of the Planeswalkers? Well, I played it a lot when I first got it. I haven't played it since, but this is just the nature of me being a Cult of the New and also reviewer. So I haven't been like actively playing it over time, but I'm eagerly anticipating the new expansion. It's still in my collection behind my shoulder. American politics is so strange compared to European politics. Well, I think they all have their issues. I've read quite a lot of stories about how messed up some European politics are. So, but I would agree that we're probably more messed up than other countries as far as that goes, for sure. Do you think Mage Wars Academy is any good compared to Mage Wars Arena? Having not played either of them, I am not qualified to answer that question. I owned Mage Wars Arena, which I think was the original one, right? The huge big box. I owned that for a long time because I got it on sale from Tango one time. Never played it. It was too intimidating. I rarely had two people alone in my game group to play it with, and I was not interested in learning it. So I got rid of it. Hey Nick, have you ever eaten the Vietnamese food pho? I don't know if that's a typo or if that's the name of the food, but no. Do you still play Magic the Gathering dual decks? Occasionally. I actually just bought the latest dual decks, which are Zendikar versus the Eldrazi. I haven't got a chance to play them yet, but I really want to. Maybe the next time I have two players together off to the side, that's what I'm going to play, actually. Yeah, now that you put my thought in my head, I really want to try those decks. I still love Magic, but I only want to play it like that. Although, also Commander. I got to get those Commander decks from last year before they go out of print, or I'll just proxy them. They're too expensive. The whole set of Commander decks from last year is like $130, and I just don't want to spend that money. But I'll gladly spend $130 on 2 board games. I realize I'm a walking contradiction. Favorite 4X game? I don't have one because I've never played one. I don't think I've played a full, legit 4X game. Though if I do play one, it will be Twilight Imperium, and it looks pretty amazing. Maybe I'll finally get that done this year. I gotta get that done. What's the next big board game trend? Well, there are trends right now that I know we're right in the thick of. Social deduction, hidden role games. Even though I would argue those have been popular for years, they're getting more so. Like, they're a thing. They're getting mixed into a lot of different games. Even as like a side thing. Like if you think of like Studying Emeralds, since I just saw it on the shelf. It's kind of crazy how that's working out. So there's that. Pirates are huge. As a genre trend, pirates are huge right now, which I don't get because I don't like pirates. So I'd be happy to see that go away. I think zombies are finally dying down a bit, but that was just a natural pushback. So, yeah, I would say hidden role games are going to be popular for quite a while. I think the next thing that we haven't even seen yet, if that's your question, I really think that when people see the mechanisms of Kingdom Death, I don't want to harp on it too much, but when people see like the mixture of Civ building and campaign style play and just very interesting thematic storyline driven play, like almost a legacy feel, which is another kind of trend right now, I think that's going to be, people are going to be clamoring to put those mechanisms into a cheaper, more accessible game. I would not be surprised if that's a trendsetter. In 3 words, tell me why I should subscribe to your channel. Just kidding, you're the best, Nick. Didn't I get in a lot of trouble for that the last time? I was just like tired and wanted to be funny, but didn't feel like working too hard at being funny. So someone said that, and I said, like, go F yourself. That's 3 words. I don't mean that, but it is funny. Let me think of something. What would be 3 words to get people to subscribe to my channel? Mostly Naked Thursdays. And no, I'm sorry. You said subscribe, not unsubscribe. All right. Would you give Myth 2.0 a chance, or have you lost all confidence? Well, do you mean like an updated rule set? Now I feel like I got rid of the game, and like I don't feel like tracking down all the Kickstarter exclusive components and all that jazz, so probably not. But if someone brought the game over and said, hey, listen, I know you gave it a bad review, but I've been playing the game for a year, I really know how to play it very well and how to run a good game of it, and there's this better rule set here that I think you'll like more, I'll say, yeah, I would definitely play it. Wow, Robo Rally is terrible. I've never played it, but it was just in Eric Summers and Jason Levine's top 10. Thanks for telling me I was thinking about getting it. Let me be very, very cautious here, okay? Just because I said it's terrible doesn't mean it is, like, certifiably, like, as a fact. And in my opinion, I hate it. I thought it was zero fun for me. I was just stressed out the whole time. And, like, I know that there are some other, like, Sam Healy agrees with me. But other people love it, okay? I don't quite understand it. I really don't, especially since I think there's better versions of it, like Volt, out there. But, like, same thing with Galaxy Trucker. So many people love Galaxy Trucker, but I hate it. And you just need to be cautious because I don't want people to just, like, completely ignore a game just because I said so. I so appreciate the respect and, like, importance that you put on my opinion on that. But I'm an arrow in a quiver of reviews. So look into it. If it seems like it's something that you would like, then you should maybe try it out. But I thought it would be something I would like, and I didn't. So, but I don't know. Boy, I thought I was caught up. I thought I was going to be able to stop. What is that game behind you that looks like a treasure chest with a mouth, sharp teeth, and a tongue sticking out? That is the number one question I am always asked, and so I'm not going to tell you. No, it's the Boo Booty box for the Super Dungeon Explorer Forgotten King. It's like the extra box of Kickstarter extras. Not exclusives. There's no exclusives in that campaign, but it's just all the extra stuff you can get. I think you can even buy it on their website. But number one question I get. People love that thing. Because it is awesome. Did you see the announcement for the new Ascension set? Yes. I need to look into it more. I wish I wasn't on their shit list now because I gave Bad Beats such a bad review. Which means they're probably never going to send me another game, which is a shame because they're going to have a limited amount of copies at Essen, and I won't be able to get one, and they were not going to release the rest of them until the end of the year, so Vassal's probably going to scoop me on it, which really sucks, but that's what happens when you put out a bad review sometimes. But it looks exciting. I've been playing a ton of that with the app. My phone crashed. Did you address Odin's Ravens? No, but that's old news, right? That's from a few weeks ago. I talked about that in my Kickstarter update, and how that game, or how they are saving it. Who's the company? I forget the company that's saving it, but the company is picking that up after the creator of the project to revive Odin's Ravens essentially ran off with everyone's money, disappeared. But still checks into the website and to Board Game Geek so people know that he's still around. Have you played World of Smog yet? No, but it is on my review pile. Maybe tonight. Probably not, though. Have you checked out Level 99's Exceed? I've looked at it. It looks very, very interesting. It looks like their response to Yomi. It's like a halfway point between Yomi and BattleCon, and I'm interested in it. I wish that company would do something else besides video game-based fighting games, though. I was sorely disappointed with Super Dungeon Explorer because there's no story in the game. Do you feel the same, or do you have no problem with it? I don't have a great problem with that because it's not that kind of game. It's supposed to be a hack-and-slash, gauntlet-style game of just having these quirky little characters beat the crap out of each other. But if you do care about that so much, you may still consider backing their new Kickstarter coming soon called like Super Dungeon Explorer Legends or Super Dungeon Legends because it's going to have campaign-style play, hopefully more storyline for you. Pho actually is a food. P-H-O. Okay. I'm sure there are Vietnamese restaurants in Florida, right? Yeah, but I don't know. I'm very picky about food. I appreciate the suggestion, though. What do you think of Magic the Gathering Arena compared to HeroScape? I think HeroScape is cool. I only played it once a long time ago. But Magic the Gathering Arena, the Planeswalkers, is just easier to... Oh, crap. My old web browser just froze. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. Yeah, okay. I think that HeroScape is good, but Magic the Gathering Arena, the Planeswalkers, is just easy to put out and set up and get going. So if I had to choose between the two, it's probably still going to be Arena. Have you ever played Machina Arcana? No. I'm actually interested in that game. Was that game ever released? That's probably going out to Kickstarter backer soon, right? It's been a while. I think it looks very neat. It was a cooperative steampunk game, but never played it. I painted everything for Super Dungeon Explorer, but it takes at the least 4 hours every time we do. Just doing something wrong, or is that normal? Okay, wait, something's wrong there. I think you combined 2 sentences, unfortunately. Did you mean to say every time you play it takes 4 hours? That, unfortunately, might be the case. I think Super Dungeon Explorer is too long. This is the biggest problem. 3 to 4 hours. Have you reviewed Witness? I have. You can find my review on this channel. It is great. It really is great. And it's one of my least reviewed videos because people just don't seem to be paying attention to it, which is sad because I really enjoyed it. It's very, speaking of innovative, that shit is innovative, if I may end on a curse word. And yeah, it looks like I caught up with someone praising me for answering every question. No, sir, thank you. I want to thank everyone. 34 people watching at this time of day on a Saturday is fantastic. So thank you guys and gals. I really enjoy these Q&As. One of my favorite things, my favorite thing, period, to do on this channel is to talk to all of you, to interact with you, to answer your questions, to get your feedback. I really mean that. I'm going to be changing the Patreon pledges around either today or tomorrow, so I'll post a notice on Facebook about that. I don't often say pump my social media, but do like us on Facebook. I don't tweet as much as I should. I just put my links to videos up there, so I don't really care about Twitter. Facebook I like a lot for posting stuff, cool stuff that I find board gaming related, and also talk about aspects of the channel. So definitely like us on Facebook, because I think that that's the best way to find out what's going on with the channel and to keep up to date on news. Whenever I have to announce something to everybody, that's where I go. So I think it's a worthwhile thing for you if you're a fan of the channel. And if you are a fan of the channel, thank you so much. I really mean it. Every view, every subscription, every time that you guys even just give me a question ahead of time and then never watch this, it's still fine, because all of that is helping support the channel and is very, very cool, and it means the world to me. So thank you so much. I have to get back to work, but I will catch you next time. We'll do another Q&A next week. Take care.